This Thursday, February 12th, anti-overreach icon Rand Paul, remember his legendary 13-hour drone filibuster, chaired a Senate hearing on ICE's massive Minnesota surge. He hauled in AG Keith Ellison and others to prove Minneapolis stonewalls federal immigration enforcement, supposedly justifying thousands of agents flooding in. Shock twist. His own witnesses kept dismantling that narrative, admitting cooperation happens, and undercutting the whole refusal claim. The small government hero now wants to force local cops to act as federal deputies. Talk about irony. Let's roll the clips. My breakdown comes right after.
Testimony. I think there is a way we can get beyond, our differences on immigration and our differences on approach. And I think, but we have to look at this in a broad scope and try to leave some of that aside. I think there is no justification for bad behavior on them from law enforcement, whether it's your local police or others. It has to be investigated, needs to be corrected. You have to change your policies. You have to announce that you're going to do a better job. But I think there is an explanation for why there's 3,000 ICE agents in Minnesota. One explanation has been put forward was vindictive. Maybe, I don't know for sure. But I do know that if you tell people preemptively that your local police will not cooperate, so if ICE calls you up and says to Minneapolis, we have a guy, I'm just presuming it's a guy because more bad people out there, unfortunately, are men than women. It's a guy, this bad guy, we want to pick him up. He's been convicted of an assault and he's now needs to be deported. If the policy of Minneapolis is not to cooperate at all, I mean, there's going to be a real problem, and then they're going to say we need more ICE agents. So what happens right now, Mr. Ellison, Attorney General Ellison, if I'm from ICE and I call Minneapolis and I say, John Smith is wanted and will you help us? Could we have 10 Minneapolis policemen go with 1 or 2 agents and arrest him? Or do we have to have 12 agents and no Minneapolis police? What happens?
Well, under Minnesota statute 631.50, anybody convicted of a felony who's in custody must be questioned about their nationality.
That's in custody. That's sort of a different question.
Okay.
I'm talking about somebody who's in the community and they need help arresting this person.
Right, but you said felony, so
you're right.
That's what maybe.
And that's a different. We'll talk about that. But
yeah.
Let's talk about somebody they want help, and is the local police force going to give them help, or do they have to bring in all ICE agents to do it?
Certainly, targeted enforcement is not the problem, as has been said.
But I think that's what has been said of some of your policies, and the interpretation is that they don't have to and won't cooperate with ICE.
Well, Mr. Chairman, first of all, they're not my policies. Just so all the members of the committee know, when you see advice or an advisory opinion coming from the Attorney General's office, this is not my opinion. It is the lawyers in my office at my best analysis of what the law requires. So I say that to you because even if I didn't issue an opinion, the law would still be what it was.
But a month ago, if ICE called the local Minneapolis police and said, we want to arrest this person, will the Minneapolis police help ICE to arrest a person?
I think so, yes.
Well, and now we're at a question of facts.
But see, Mr. Chairman,
I think most people are arguing that that's not true and that that's a reason for the surge. If it is true, then the local officials need to say they will. But I mean, the mayor of Minneapolis said used crude language to tell them where to go. He didn't say, oh, we're not going to help you arrest 5-year-old boys because we think that's wrong. But if you have a rapist, we'll help you elect rapists, assault people, thieves, drug kingpins, et cetera. But it doesn't sound like that's what's happening to me. I mean, do you really think that it is happening? They're cooperating?
Yes, I do, Senator.
All right.
And let me just, if you'd allow me just to elaborate, I think that what we're dealing with is a difference of what the scenario is. If you're talking about a person who's been convicted of a crime where in targeted enforcement, you will see Minnesota officials make sure that person is addressed properly and deals with their consequences when it comes to immigration.
So Representative Niska, do you think the local police are cooperating if ICE calls them?
No, the public statements of Minneapolis officials have been that Minneapolis police will not assist in enforcing immigration. Perhaps they'll assist if there's some state crime that's alleged. But if ICE were to call in your scenario and say, we need to pick somebody up for violating immigration law, the Minneapolis public statements have been that they won't. And the example we saw just this last week of someone who was arrested with 50 pounds, an illegal immigrant arrested with 50 pounds of meth, and January 8th was allowed to go free and had to be taken by ICE last week.
Thank you. Mr. Schnell, I would like to know, and I've watched some of your interviews, I am impressed with the idea that ICE was saying there was 1,300 people. You reviewed them. Some of these people aren't in Minnesota, never were in Minnesota. Some have been released to ICE themselves, and their list is just flat out wrong. The most impressive thing I heard in one of your interviews was that somebody named Lou Mua was a person that they were, saying this is why we have to break down doors because this terrible person. Sounds like he probably is a terrible person, but you said he was in jail already and he had a detainer. So I think that truth needs to be explored if that is really happening. There used to be, people said, a direct portal though. So when you did it or somebody got booked, it went directly to ICE. Does that still exist, or do you have to do them one at a time in prison?
So, Mr. Chair, at present, we provide notification in accordance with law to ICE when they come in. There are systems that are available to people to be able to get that, for ICE to be able to get that information.
I was told that Mayorkas stopped the portal, and the portal was a very fast portal where it was sort of automatically done. True or not true?
It is true that there is a portal that ICE can access.
It was stopped under Mayorkas.
I believe so.
Okay. But you still do your job. You do your detainers in. And so one of the questions goes back to Attorney General Morris's point. So, and look, I'm a stickler for the law. I'm a libertarian on these issues. If detaining somebody who's already served their sentence doesn't make sense to me. But here's my question. If someone is in your prison for 5 years, which some of them are going to be in prison 5 years, they're also wanted and they're at a detainer, which means they haven't had their judgment. Why couldn't we go to immigration court during the 5 years in prison? Does that happen, and why doesn't it happen?
Mr. Chairman, I believe there are some rare instances where we have had people who have had immigration proceedings while they've been in custody and, where removal
Yeah, would answer some of the questions. Then you have a final court judgment. You go through a court, he's going to be represented, and we're going to go through it, the final judgment. And then Attorney General's problem that, they've not, a detainer's a request, not a conviction. Then they would have had their conviction. It's much easier. But they also, if it's seamlessly working, is it most of the time when you notify ICE, are they showing up on the day they're going to release and it's a peaceful turnover? Or are they doing it half the time, 20% of the time, 100% of the time? How's it working?
Mr. Chairman, I think there has been wide-scale cooperation for a long time. We have had, excellent experiences, and the local staff of the Department of Corrections and the local ICE office are very effective.
All right, if you just watched that Senate hearing and felt total frustration mixed with whiplash, yeah, that's the right reaction. Senator Rand Paul sets up this carefully worded trap. What if ICE calls Minneapolis for help arresting a violent criminal? He gets the unexpected answer from AG Keith Ellison. Switches to a Republican lawmaker, gets the reply he wanted. Then boom, his own witness, Corrections Commissioner Paul Schnell, calmly drops the truth bomb. Wide-scale cooperation with ICE has been happening for years. Effective relationship? The chairman's panel just shot down his whole argument live. Brutal cell phone. The hidden stats. Federal numbers via Fox 9. Only about 5% of over 2,000 arrests in the Minnesota surge had violent records. Cato Institute, Paul's libertarian allies, says 73% of ICE detainees had 0 convictions. CBS Nationwide. Under 14% violent, nearly 40% no record at all. So Paul's just help with assault guys line. That's 1 in 20 arrests. The other 95%. Not the dangerous criminals promised? Minneapolis' separation policy? Not some wild liberal idea. It started in 2003 under Bush, rooted in the 10th Amendment. Supreme Court upheld similar laws. This is straight constitutional black-letter stuff? Now the irony hits hard. The same Rand Paul who warned in time about militarized police and civil liberties erosion is chairing a hearing that basically justifies flooding a city with 3,000 armed federal agents because locals won't do the Fed's job. This op. To American citizens dead, Renee Good, mom of 3, and Alex Preddy, VA ICU nurse. A judge found nearly 100 court order violations in 1 month. $23 million in economic damage? Tom Homan announces it's ending right during the hearing. Senators clueless for an hour? Real game plan. Pure distraction. Shift blame to unhelpful local cops so no one talks about 2 citizens killed, 95% nonviolent arrests. Or the White House's unbacked 10,000 criminal aliens claim. Bottom line. Local police priorities, set by your city, your taxes, are now framed as obstruction. If your town has a separation rule, hundreds do. This hearing tests if refusing to volunteer cops justifies federal invasion, like a landlord breaking in because you skipped hallway plants. Trump's immigration approval tanked, strong disapproval up to 49%. The admin's losing the public? And the scary part, no consequences for 96 broken orders in a month means any administration can swarm a city they hate, botch it, then blame locals. This isn't immigration enforcement oversight? It's testing if the feds can punish cities for using their rights, and if a libertarian senator will hand them the cover. Rand Paul knows better? He filibustered 13 hours over drones possibly targeting Americans. 2 Americans died here? His response: grill why the city didn't help more. Liberty's got a zip code now, and apparently an immigration loyalty test. For a libertarian. Wild. Absolutely wild. If this breakdown hit you, smash like, share with someone who needs it. Drop your thoughts and comments. I read them all. Subscribe and hit the bell for more no BS analysis. Thanks for watching.